Hi everybody, welcome to Lesson 1, Quiz 2 Explanation. Like always, if you haven't completed the quiz yet on Moodle, please do stop the video and go and complete that quiz. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll be more confident about how to find the answers from the passage. So the author uses the quote, "You get to nitpicking," to suggest what? So we're looking at lines 24 to 25, and look at the line before. It's a response to the question. What do you do when they're both so nice? So there's a question. What do you do when they're so nice? These are judges. The judges are looking at two items of clothing and they're trying to choose the best one. The second judge asks, what do you do when they are both so nice? And the senior judge says, you get to nitpicking. And she chose it because of the covered button. She says the covered buttons are it. So the covered button is only a very small part of the item of clothing. So it's not that covered buttons are important for all garments. No, all is making answer number 2 wrong. And it's not that often they like two things equally well. It says in this example, both things are almost equal. So we take away number 4. Number 5, small details are not the most important. Not the most important. But we're looking at the small detail of the covered button, and that is why this item of clothing gets the first prize. So the small detail is very important. The correct answer is going to be number 3. A judge may award a prize based upon a small point. Number 2. What was the most likely the deciding factor in awarding the first prize to the black and white Charles jumper? So that's what she said. She gave the first prize to the jumper because in Highland County, covered buttons are it. In Highland County, the most important part is the covered buttons. So the correct answer is number 3, the covered buttons. Question 3. What does the author's use of the word size mean in line 35, or suggest in line 35? So Mildred Detamore holds a jar of stewed tomatoes up to the light and sighs. Oh, the tomatoes are so much seedier this year. It's because of the drought. Now, when you sigh, you could sigh because you are tired. You could sigh because something is so nice. Or you could sigh because you are disappointed. Okay? But when she's looking, she sighs when she sees the tomatoes. She sighs when she sees how many seeds are in the tomatoes. So there's something that's not very good, and it makes her sigh. This suggests that she is disappointed. So it's not because she is tired of tasting the samples. She's not tasting. She's looking at the jar in the light. So number 1 must be wrong. It's not because it's hard work and boring. Before she sighs, she holds up the tomatoes. After she sighs, she talks about the tomatoes. So it's not about being hard work. It's about something wrong with the tomatoes. The judge thinks that the jar is defective. Possibly. Is it the jar or the contents of the jar? It's a question. Number 4, the judge is dissatisfied with this year's crop. Possibly. She says the tomatoes are a lot seedier this year. Number 5, not get paid for her work. There's nothing about being paid. So we need to choose between answer number 3 and answer number 4. So when she's looking at the jar, she's not looking at the glass jar itself. The glass jar can be seen through. She's looking inside the jar. She's looking at what crop, what vegetable is being put inside there. And it's seeing the tomatoes that makes her sigh. So she is dissatisfied with the tomatoes, not with the jar. Correct answer is number 4. Question 4. Which of the following is the best description of the style in which this article is written? So dry and scholarly would be very high level language, probably not got a lot of direct quotations speaking to each other. Informal and casual. Complex and technical would need to have very high level vocabulary. Formal and scientific would also need to be explaining scientific, using scientific language, explaining scientific ideas. Light-hearted and comical. Comical is funny. So I think as we look through, you can see here, you'd think it would be fun tasting them until you thought twice. You'd think. So this is addressed directly to you, the reader. You would think. You, the reader, would think. If this was academic, if this was formal, if this was scholarly means from a university, it means academic, then it could not address the reader directly. You would never use the pronoun you in formal, scholarly, or technical work. So we can take away 3 of the answers. Number 1, number 3, and number 4. So is it informal and casual, or is it light-hearted and comical? Comical means funny. As we read through the passage, do we see lots of things that are funny? No. There's not lots of jokes, there's not lots of funny things in this. So the correct answer is going to be number 2, informal and casual. Okay, the last passage. On the basis of this excerpt, how did the public most likely think of Hemingway in his later years? So, let's look at the last paragraph. Because we're talking about the later years, we might find a clue in the end. Hemingway was mourned mostly as a great celebrity, his worst side, and not as a great writer, which he was. So mourning means you're sad that somebody has died. So when he died, people were sad that they had lost a famous person, a celebrity, not that they had lost a writer. So anything that talks about writing, distinguished writer here, war correspondent, correspondent means journalist. So anything about writing is going to be wrong. They thought they had lost a celebrity, a famous person, not a great writer. So an expert on big game hunting, an expert on bullfighting, or an international star. Now, star means a famous person, a star of a movie, a star of music. A star means a famous celebrity. And they thought they had lost a great celebrity, a great star. So that means the correct answer is going to be number 5. Which of the following would the writer of this article most likely enjoy? A play about Hemingway's life, a biography about Hemingway's later years, an early Hemingway story, a newspaper article about Hemingway's fame, or a picture of Hemingway performing. Now, remember it said the celebrity was his worst side. The person writing this does not like to think of him as a celebrity. So a newspaper article about his fame, about being famous, would not be something that the writer likes to read. Let's look at the passage. In 1928, Hemingway's mother mailed him a chocolate cake. Along with it, she sent the .32 cal Smith & Wesson revolver, with which Hemingway's father had just killed himself. Hemingway dropped the pistol into a deep lake in Wyoming and saw it go down making bubbles until it was just as big as a watch charm in that clear water, and then it was out of sight. So for his birthday, his mother sent him a chocolate cake. Actually, it doesn't say for his birthday, sorry. It does say she just mailed him. So she gave him a cake and a gun, the gun that the father had used to kill himself with. And he throws the gun away into the lake. The story is minutely savage in its details and haunting in its outcome. Perfect, Hemingway. So Hemingway is a bit haunted. He's got a bit of deep personality. Maybe there are things that are not perfect about his life. And of course, there is the water. Lake water and trout stream, Gulf Stream, and the rains after the Caporetto, and the endless washes of the alcohol refracting in his brain. His style was a steam with the stones of nouns in it and a surface of prepositional ripples. So as he writes like a flow of water. He writes like a stone skipping across the water. Ernest Hemingway's books are easier to know and to love than his life. So the author seems to know and to like his books. He wrote at his early best a prose of powerful and brilliant simplicity. So his books are lovely, amazing, excellent, and the best of the books are his early books. So, a Hemingway story, a Hemingway book, an early one, yes, the author seems to suggest that the author of this passage would like to read early Hemingway stories because these were the best ones that Hemingway wrote. 7. What is the purpose of the details in the first paragraph? To explain why Hemingway's father killed himself? No, we don't know. We know that after his father killed himself, his mother sent the gun to Hemingway, and then Hemingway threw the gun away. But we do not know why Hemingway's father killed himself. So we can take away number 1. To criticize Hemingway's behavior? Well, it doesn't say that this behavior is good or bad. It just shows you what he did. There's no positive, there's no negative expression about it. To introduce a discussion of Hemingway's life and style of writing? Well, it does talk. So if you look at the next paragraph, it says this story is minutely savage in detail and haunting in its outcome. Perfect Hemingway. So it's saying this story is a good introduction to Hemingway's life. It tells you about the water in the lake. That's very important. It tells you about the way that he writes. The way he writes might be, and saw it go down, making bubbles until it was just as big as a watch charm in that clear water, and then it was out of sight. Here we have a lot of description. Not I threw it in the lake, but I saw it go down with bubbles coming up and slowly it went out of sight. So it's a long description. And it shows you that Hemingway, when he writes, he likes to write long, detailed descriptions, not short, simple sentences. So this might be the correct answer. Talking about his relationship with his mother, we don't know. We know that the mother sent him a present, but we don't know if they have a strong or a weak relationship. And the celebrity is later on in his life, so the celebrity section is down here. It's not at the beginning. So the correct answer is going to be number 3. And that's the end of the passage. We'll go into lesson 2 in the next recording. Hasta la, Psycho.